The Queen of Granada, by M. Riff. Chapter 112, The Tunnel. Holding onto the railing, I directed the light around and down. The wide concrete stairs wound down, interrupted by regular landings, and were secured on both sides by handrails. In the considerable space between the railing and the wall, numerous thick pipes ran down, perhaps for air and transport of another kind. I hoisted the backpack onto my back, the flashlight firmly in my hand, ready to move on. My visibility was limited, I couldn't even see my feet. At the very first step, I accidentally kicked the coffee pot, sending it flying forward. It hit one of the pipes and fell noisily down. I stood with my hand tightly clasped around the railing, doing my best not to crash down the stairs again and lay unconscious for who knows how long. I listened to the sound of the coffee pot. It took a while before it finally hit the bottom of the stairwell and smashed. The positive thing was that I now knew there was a bottom at all. The downside was that it was really far down, which would feel even further when I staggered down in the dark. Maybe I could turn off the flashlight to save battery if I knew the number of steps to the next landing where I could turn it back on. I took a couple of steps to the edge of the landing, turned off the flashlight, took a step down, and stood still. My feet refused to move in the dark. I remembered that at the first medical examination of Pal after his birth, the doctor explained to me that babies are born with a walking reflex. Using the same reflex, controlled from the spinal cord, a chicken can run around after having its head chopped off, something that some people have considered a miracle. But at that moment, my feet refused to do something that newborn babies and headless chickens can do. The idea of saving the battery may have been good, but not in these circumstances. I turned the flashlight back on. I went down and kept counting the steps. There were 24 steps between each landing. It was a military installation, and the military thinks digitally without noticeable variation. If there were 10 landings and I had to spend 30 seconds for each set of stairs, I'd be on my way for about 5 minutes, and that wasn't too bad. After the 5th landing, I noticed massive concrete blocks and columns bolted together with huge screws and bolts. It reminded me of the same elements used in subway construction. What if there were no bunkers at all, and they were just building a subway? During World War II, they used the subway as underground shelters. But, on the other hand, one could not follow the same line of thinking against nuclear war. Even the air would be contaminated and would have to be filtered before it could be inhaled. Finally, it was reassuring to have solid ground under my feet, although I was stepping on pieces of glass from the exploded thermos scattered all over the place. I illuminated the surroundings with the flashlight and spotted a narrow tunnel. Before long, it opened into a wider and higher passage with dim red lights placed high up in the ceiling. When I left the passage behind me, I stood at a crossroads that went in 3 different directions. 2 of them were shrouded in darkness and were still under construction. I followed the small red lamps installed in the ceiling of the 3rd passage.